All right, today we're going to solve a mystery that has probably driven you absolutely nuts if you're a professional on LinkedIn. It all starts with one single and honestly pretty misleading error message.
You've been there, right? You spend all this time crafting the perfect, most insightful post. You hit that share button, feeling good about it, and then, boom, you get this. Network connection failed. So what do? You probably check your Wi-Fi, maybe you reset your router, but what if I told you your Wi-Fi is perfectly fine and that error message, it's actually a disguise for something else entirely?
That's right. 9 times out of 10, your internet connection has nothing to do with it. The real reason your amazing post is stuck in limbo has everything to do with what you wrote, not your network.
So, what's really going on here? Well, we need to talk about a concept called algorithmic friction. It's a fancy term for when an automated system, an algorithm, intentionally stops you without ever telling you the real reason why.
Okay, so here's the big reveal. That network connection failed message, it's pretty much just a mask. It's a generic, vague error that LinkedIn's system throws up when its own internal moderation engine has already rejected your post behind the scenes. It's not a bug, it's a very, very confusing feature.
To really get why this happens, we have to go inside LinkedIn's moderation engine. And you got to understand, this thing is an incredibly complex system that is in a constant high-speed race against the clock. 300 milliseconds. Think about that. That is less than half the time it takes you to blink. In that tiny fraction of a second, LinkedIn's AI has already done its first complete scan of your post, analyzing every word, every keyword, and every link you've included. It's ridiculously fast.
So this whole process is something we can call the moderation handshake. The very instant you click post, that 300 millisecond clock starts ticking. If the AI's initial scan flags a potentially sensitive topic, it immediately kicks off a much deeper, more complicated check. But here's the catch. If that deep dive takes too long, the connection to your browser just times out.
And this is where the big disconnect happens. Your browser sees that timeout and just assumes it's a network failure. That's all it knows how to say. But behind the scenes, what really happened is the moderation system couldn't make a decision fast enough, so it basically just gave up, leaving your post in purgatory and you completely in the dark.
So what kind of content actually triggers this frantic deep check? Well, a huge one is what we can call the medical advice trap. The algorithm is super sensitive to any absolute statements you make about health. So if you write something direct like alcohol is bad for you, the AI instantly flags it. It then tries to figure out if you're a verified doctor or medical professional. If you're not, it can just proactively block your post, labeling it unauthorized medical advice before a single person ever gets to see it.
And hey, if you've ever run into this problem, I want you to know you are so far from alone. This total lack of transparency has led to this massive, widespread frustration among professionals who are just trying to share valuable stuff.
This quote right here, it comes straight from a user on Reddit, where you can find these huge mega threads of people sharing their stories. They all describe this feeling of being trapped, They have well-intentioned, important content about health or their industry, and it's just being shut down by this invisible automated system with zero explanation.
And here is the great irony that just drives people crazy. The system will often block a really well-researched post about public health, but at the exact same time, all this low-value, engagement-based content, what some people are calling AI slop, it seems to sail right on through without a single problem. It's a really frustrating paradox for anyone trying to add real value.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem, but I'm not going to leave you stuck in auto-reply hell. Now it's time for the solution. Here is your official toolkit for actually bypassing this block and getting your posts seen.
So, because the error is based on your content, just hitting refresh over and over again is never going to work. You have to actually change the content to get around the AI's triggers. And it really just boils down to 3 simple steps. Reframe your language, take a look at your links, and check your browser.
Now, without a doubt, the most important step is reframing your language. Instead of a direct, high-risk health claim like alcohol is bad for you, you need to shift the focus to a professional or an industry angle. For instance, you could frame it as the impact of alcohol on workplace productivity. That's way less likely to trigger that sensitive medical advice filter.
Next up, check your links. Get rid of any URLs that might point to sites the algorithm could see as sensitive. And finally, believe it or not, sometimes the problem is actually your own browser. Security extensions like the Shields feature in Brave can sometimes mess with that super fast 300 millisecond moderation handshake. So try disabling them just for a moment or clear your cache and then try posting again.
And all of this brings us to the bigger picture, doesn't it?
Understanding these little workarounds is super useful, but it also surfaces a really important question for our professional lives online. When these invisible, opaque algorithms are the gatekeepers to our conversations, who's actually responsible for making sure that important ideas, especially on sensitive topics, actually get a fair hearing? Something to think about.